All right. So this is the Minnow Mayor Town Hall. You're on mspwaves radio. I'm your host, Skanky J, also known as Agrode, who's currently Witness 10. And I have on air with me Intuitivejakob. Intuitive, what brings you on the air tonight?
Well, hey, there's Skanky J. First of all, just wanted to say thank you for having me. It's my first time on the show. And I'm actually somewhat new to the community, and I have just been super pumped to find this community, first of all. And just wanted to offer something in tandem to what you were saying when you opened up this evening about how people communicate with one another, especially when things seem a little bit tense. And it's kind of funny because when you tried to pull me on the first time, the tech suddenly wasn't working. And I'd been having a side chat with Rondon, or is it Huandon now, about, the things that can go extra, extra this time of year, when things are Mercury retrograde and all that. And he had been having some tech issues too. And of course, you go to pull me on first time and noobtastic move, Mercury retrograded myself right in front of everybody. And so it leads me to my point. And it was just really much in tandem with what you were saying about communication. And I just thought I would offer this because I'm somebody that actually had to learn things in a very difficult manner after having basically, well, I'll just say it, I died. I had been killed in the process of being saved, if you will, due to stage 4 cancer and some terrible things that went awry in a life-saving surgery. And it's been interesting because coming out of this and having survived what had happened to me, I became a little bit more interested in some of the weird, freakish, sort of intuitive things that I'd already picked up on as hunches all along the path up until now, but that I just kind of swept off to the side until they started kicking my ass left and right. And it kind of led me to today, speaking about transits. And we just entered into something really interesting today. We've got this gorgeous supermoon out right now. So I will just encourage anybody that's out where you can, step out and take a look at it, to have a look at this beautiful supermoon tonight. But the supermoon that we have tonight is happening at a time where we've got another transit going on called Mercury in retrograde. And it's such a misnomer in and of itself that, Mercury could even go backwards because, we're talking about space, right? So things don't really go backwards in space, But at any rate, Mercury is it's a planet of communication. And so when we're looking up at it from where we are here on Earth, it might appear to kind of swivel backwards in its orbit because it's got a shorter orbit than what we have. And when we look up at it and it takes that swirl, basically what happens is that although it appears to double back, it's not really doing that. But you've got this planet that gets a little bit closer to Earth than it ever would, this 3 to 4 times a year for a certain period of time. And every time it does, it seems like people are having a little bit more, upside downness. Exactly, Azaria. I love how you flipped your name there.
I would oftentimes mock this exact kind of thing. I have not personally died. I've had my own sort of intellectual crises at various times. Certainly had panic attacks that took me years to get over. So I've gone down there, and normally I would say all of this stuff is totally bullshit. And then I started tracking some of these things, and I don't know if they're self-fulfilling prophecies or something, but I don't know. I started walking away thinking, this is weird, but I do tend to observe particularly odd behavior during Mercury in retrograde.
Indeed. Well, I resonate with that, and on the same boat with that with you. I just, I'm somebody that really took a swivel back on my own life in different ways because I felt like I needed to be a little more analytical than as fringy as I am. And, it wasn't until those things happened that I had to kind of reassess. And so I just wanted to dovetail on what you were saying about how we treat each other because for me, my focal point right now, just as a newbie, I joined the first week of September, and it was also a full moon weekend at the time, incidentally. And I noticed sometimes, communications can be a little weird for people around full moons too, because of how sometimes people will notice they're a little more emo. And I can't quantify this anyway, and I'm certainly going to insist anybody subscribe to this or take it as a dogma. This is just merely a lens of observation that has helped me analyze where I am in a crazy situation. And I've noticed that people get somewhat emo and exaggerated around me if I'm paying attention to these movements. And so it's kind of a weird mix of the stuff that we've got going on right now as we're entering into the heavy part of the end of the year and the holidays or the holidays, depending on who you are. But I just thought I would just offer this because one of the things that's been really, really helpful for me now that I've recognized what these cosmic sways might implicate on others if we take a look at our weather outside of our direct atmosphere and maybe just ponder for a second that if something comes swooping in the stew, a big spoon, if you will, stuff's going to wiggle around down here on Earth, right? So every time this happens, it's a good time to pay attention to how we're even hearing things. And some people will even say, of course, it hasn't been scientifically proven yet, but they're speculating that Mercury might be massively composed of molten metal. And so if it gets really close to us, just 3 or 4 times a year, and it's like a big magnet swooping in, that could account for things with why technology might be a little bit fritzy, why human bodies, bioenergetic beings that operate on nervous impulse might also be affected. So yeah, I just thought I would kind of, offer that in there because that's kind of what the cosmic weather is that we're all under from today until the 22nd of this month before we, get out into the shadow period where things start to kind of, dissipate from that. But it's a lesson in grace. And I thought I would just offer it out there as somebody that's been really, I'm feeling very welcomed by Discord and by the people that have been very embracing of me here. And instead of about what doesn't work, I thought I would let you guys know what's kicking some ass in Colorado, because we're on fire out here. We've got some amazing things happening. Since I've been in this community, I've been to, I think, 4 official meetups, 2 kind of impromptus, and our people are showing up. And so, I feel like it's just giving me a whole new way to look at this. And I know we can get very focused on things like, people that might be less than embracing of, community building and more of, supporting themselves and ecosystem, self-supporting with bots and so forth. But one of the things that I've been seeing a lot out here is just a change of focus. And what's been interesting for me have been some of the conversations that I'm having. Real people that are real Steemians that are meeting up together in real life out here and getting together and supporting one another. And some of the conversations have been just absolutely fantastic, what people are doing to bring actual utility to Steem, so that even people that maybe have no interest in this community yet might have a reason to. And so, one of the first people that had welcomed me here was a guy named James that lives out here in Denver. He's become a really good friend of mine, and he goes by the username on Steam at LP Faust, and he's actually a dolphin, y'all. And he's had some really fascinating ideas about building community locally around accelerators and helping provide gateways and assistance to local merchants and communities that could benefit from getting onto Steemit by attending local meetups like the ones that we have planned. I've actually got one 16th that's going to be up at the Punch Bowl Social, and I've actually designed a whole game, a bingo board that's going to incentivize people to basically do shouts for one another, community building ways where we're highlighting one another's talents and bringing more utility to the community, not just out, in the, Steemit community online, but also where we live and breathe and have to pay bills and eat things and stuff like that.
Well, rock on. I think those games are good. Trying to get more engagement is awesome. I mean, you have such a compelling story. I mean, normally I have to sit here and just poke and prod people, and here I can just sit back and listen. This has been very exciting. I'm nervous about time, and I have a couple more people to bring on, but I'd love it if you'd come back, ideally next week, and go share some of your story of being a 4-stage cancer survivor, and what do you think led you there, and how do you think you came back, and just talk us through that, because that's fascinating, and I hope to hear more about it.
I would absolutely love to, and just want to thank you again for being so and for letting me talk here tonight. So thanks everybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
It is awesome, and just sending out big love to anybody. And I will say one other thing too: if anybody has any needs, or if you have any weird stuff going on, feel free to shout me on Discord chat here. I'm actually in others. I'm an ordained minister, and so you're not alone, especially if you're going through something weird. So thanks.
Rock on. You've been listening to Intuitive Jakob on MSP Waves. This is the Minnow Mayor Town Hall, and thanks so much for coming on. I'm going to drag him off back into the audience, and I'm going to stop that recording.